Good night, honey.
Fuck you. Get away from me.
Right.
Okay, welcome to the third episode of The Human Experience, or also known as Liam's Experience.
No, it's our experience.
Yeah.
Stop making me self-conscious again.
Okay,
This
I'm
is
sorry.
this is our podcast.
Okay, you're making me self-conscious by touching me inside of
Okay.
on top
Fine.
of your bed.
Next time I'll ask for consent.
Okay. Well, you won't get it, so. Okay, that was a bad way to start the podcast, I guess. Very hostile.
Well, all I want is just some love and affection.
How have your acting classes been going?
Pretty cool. Pretty fun. Yeah. Yeah.
So you started them?
Yeah. It's like the fifth one tomorrow.
Okay, cool. And what do you do in those classes?
Honestly, most of them have just been kind of like, I was already doing like improvisation theater
Mm-hmm.
classes, and most of the acting classes have been like that too, except for one where the guy really pushed us and he really gave a lot of feedback, which was great. It was less fun, but it was better, you know?
Yes.
And the other ones were more like, oh, we're just having a lot of fun, didn't get that much feedback, but it was fun, you know? So it's...
And the one where he pushed you guys very far. In what way did he do so?
Like he kept interrupting us to give us feedback and then like made us start over and do it again with his feedback, and then, you know, it pushed us a lot to improve, but yeah, it's annoying to get interrupted. But I like, on a conscious level, you appreciate it that he wants to help you, but on a, you know...
On an emotional level, it's kind of like, yeah, you're fucking up.
Yeah, it feels like, I don't know.
A lot of
feels
pressure,
like you're...
or?
Not really. Not pressure. Just feels like, I don't know. No, it was fine. But also I wasn't prepared at all.
You didn't...
For the other ones I didn't...
Or?
For the other ones I didn't have to prepare anything. But that one I had to prepare a monologue. And I chose like this monologue from like, what's his name? From what's his name? The guy who the womanizer. It's like a womanizer.
Okay.
Whatever. But it's like this ancient English, you know?
Yeah.
Like...
Oh, okay. So like the Italian name. What's its name?
Yeah, is it Italian or is it Spanish? I don't know.
I think it's Italian. It's fuck.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. But it was this ancient English, and I could not memorize it. I couldn't memorize even the first line. I couldn't do it because it's not the way I speak, you know?
Okay.
So that's yeah, definitely something I need to fix.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been fun. And then at school we also got to do, like, we got to make our first projects, and I acted in a couple projects, which was fun. It was a bit, you know, it was pretty bad, but it was pretty funny to make, you know.
Okay, cool. And what kind of videos did you make?
Well, one so in the first one there was a girl sitting on a bench, and then I pass by and I fall on the ground, like I like fall over my own feet, and then I'm like, yeah, yelling out loud like, it hurts so much, I'm in so much pain, and the girl's like, looks at me and just look back at her phone and just kind of ignores me while I'm making a scene. And well, that's the entire thing, really. I'm just making a fool of myself, and the other girl's ignoring me, and she does it very well. But, you know, she does it very well because it feels like she's that kind of person in real life too.
Yeah, you both of you guys had no problem method acting that one.
I'm very good at I'm very good at looking for attention, yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then another one I had to act depressed. um, which also wasn't hard. Like, I feel like, yeah, I haven't had to do anything that was really difficult. So, yeah, no, it was fun.
Yeah,
And then
seems fun.
and then I had to. So we were in a group, and each of us had to like create our own little like 1 minute film or whatever. And so I made one where I took the oldest woman in our program, and then I took one of the guys, and I made the guy a male prostitute, and I made the woman like just a passerby who looks at the male prostitute, and then like she's like at first she's disgusted, and then she's like seduced by the guy, and he's like dancing like, oh yeah, come here, baby, and then she's seduced and she goes in, and then she's like, yeah,
That's intense.
yeah. So yeah, that was fun.
Is this the woman who you kind of humiliated at your
I didn't
presentation?
humiliate her.
But it's the same woman.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's not maybe go too deep
Yeah.
into that, but
I didn't humiliate her. She can just like ask a lot of questions and project her own stuff onto the discussion that goes on in the class, and it can get really annoying. And I just made a joke about it, and everyone laughed. She even laughed. And we're actually kind of like best friends now. Not really, but like we appreciate each other.
okay, that's cool.
Like she gave me a hug the other day,
A
which was
hug?
weird. But
Why?
well, at first because I really badly hurt her physically. She had like I had to sit down on, and but her knees were turned. So there's two seats, but they go like they open and they close, you know.
Uh-huh.
And she had her knee turned under my seat, and I was waiting for her to turn so that I could sit down. And I saw her turn, so I turned around and I sat down. But by the time I did that, I hadn't realized that she had already turned her legs back
Okay.
under my seat. So I sat down like pretty like I dropped myself onto her knee basically, and she
Ow.
cried it out. And we were in the first row. She cried it out in front of the whole classroom, and I was so fucking shook. I was like, "What the fuck? Oh my god!" I was so shook. She like cried it out, and I didn't know what to do. And then
But you guys made it up.
yeah, then we made it up. And then at the end, she was like, "Can I give you a hug?" And then I hugged her, and then we were like, "Oh my god, yeah, okay." We were both pretty shook, but yeah. I mean, I've learned to appreciate her, even though I still find her annoying. But
She's kind of your nemesis.
no, I wouldn't say nemesis. That's no. But yeah, but it's like one of the only people in the classroom that like I feel I can have like a really challenging discussion with,
Okay.
because she's as hot-headed or like as stubborn as me.
Okay.
All the other people are just like, whatever.
Yeah. So you don't agree with her, but she's still engaged.
Yeah,
And that's kind of
exactly.
interesting.
Yeah, and yeah, and it's not that we don't even disagree on that much. I just I'm I'm usually just really annoyed at how she expresses herself with this like verontwaardiging.
Um,
What's the word?
Verontwaardiging.
This is
Not-
great stuff for the podcast.
Yeah, man. Disdain?
No.
No.
Yeah, outrage.
Outrage.
It's
yeah.
always some kind of outrage. Like she's
No, you mean like political stuff?
yeah, political stuff. Always like we had to watch this movie for class, which was it was by David Lynch. It was Lost Highway, and it's this movie. It's a really weird movie, but it's very like critical of like Hollywood and of like kind of the patriarchy, I guess, but not really. It's like critical of the male psyche, or it explores the male psyche, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And she just didn't seem to get that.
She was
The
still
she
critical of the movie for.
Yeah, she was critical of the movie, but the movie was trying to say the same thing as her.
Yeah.
And I guess she just didn't like that it was being said by a man or something. I don't know. I'm not sure anyway. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
But
whatever.
sometimes there's just people you agree with, but you're just really annoyed at how they express yourself that you can't bring yourself to listen to them. It takes a lot of mental tolls to allow yourself to listen to them because they're so annoying.
Yeah. So I had this with some professors too.
Yeah.
Like the way they express themselves, and like the kind of intention and emotion with which they come about things, kind of makes you want to disagree with them. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so dude. Listening is so difficult.
Well, that's why you started the podcast, right?
That's true. That's true. But yeah, I think. But you remember, I've asked you a few times. I think if you thought I had ADHD,
Uh-huh.
and you always said no, I don't think so.
Uh-huh.
But I really think I have ADHD.
Yeah, but you can't diagnose yourself.
I know. But I'm gonna. I actually have an appointment next week to go to a psychologist who does this kind of program. It's like 10 sessions or whatever, different types of sessions to get properly like diagnosed.
Okay, cool.
Because I just, yeah, I think I have this weird dopamine problem in my brain. I'm really good at doing stuff if the stuff has some kind of metric attached to it. You know,
Metric.
like if I can, like grades, I'm really good at and also because I process information faster than most people, so I'm really good at studying. But I also I can keep doing it. I can focus on it because I know that I can get the good grades, and the grades is like how I get my dopamine kick from it.
Okay.
Same thing with like money. This is like money. I've let myself be motivated a lot by money through my business. So all the work I did, it was like to,
It's kind of like quantifiable.
yeah, it's a quantifiable thing. And then it was the same with views, but then with the difference, like on YouTube, getting views, the difference was that I was not getting views.
And that was
And-
demotivating.
And that was very demotivating. And then on the end, I did end up getting a lot of views on TikTok. But then I realized how fucking meaningless it was. Like, it gave me this huge dopamine boost at first, and then the next day I was like, fuck, I'm fucking dead inside.
Uh-huh.
So, and now that I'm trying to create for the purpose of creation
Mm-hmm.
by just enjoying the process. And there's so much stuff that I want to create because I think it would be really meaningful and valuable to create it, but I cannot get myself to focus on it because the process itself doesn't like.
It's not linear enough or something, or like it's not quantifiable. The result's not quantifiable to
Yeah.
some sense, or I don't really get what you're saying.
Yeah, I can't get myself to sit down and do the work, I guess, of creating the things that I want to create, like the boring, like not the boring work, but yeah, like I love editing as
Uh-huh.
an art,
Uh-huh.
but I don't love editing as work. Like if I have to, like I know how I want to edit something, I know exactly what I want to do and how I have to do it, but actually doing it
Yeah.
is fucking torture.
You like the conceptual
Yeah.
work, like how is
Mhm.
it gonna tell the story
Mhm.
and but like the technical elements are, well, yeah,
Not even
dreadful.
not even the technical. It's like just the pure thing of like sitting down in a chair and executing the plan, piecing it together. It's not that technical. It's just work, you know. And this is, you know,
You hate work.
I hate work. I'm fucking lazy as shit. Like, and I'm not lazy. Really, I'm not. I'm not lazy. It's just like I really need to be stimulated. I need to be really stimulated to do something. Like I can get really stimulated from a discussion. This is also, I think, why listening is so difficult for me, is because usually I can listen if it's interesting to me, but if it's not interesting to me, then I just zone out completely. You know, this is why I think I have really, like, why I've grown up like socially incapable, basically, because I just don't give a fuck about what most things that people are talking about, because it doesn't stimulate me, and so I'm really bad at listening. So I'm really bad at making uh, relationships, basically, and I consistently like fall in love with girls who give me a lot of attention but don't require me to listen to them that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you're talking yourself, you kind of have the selection bias of talking about the things you like,
Mm-hmm.
and mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
But
things that stimulate me. Yeah,
yeah,
things that give me like this kick, like, oh my god, I just like this just made me realize something. Oh my god, yeah, I'm making some kind of progress intellectually.
and have you found like any way to, because I mean it's good to have do certain things you're very stimulated by, and I think you can make a lot of progress by very much focusing on specific things, which you seem pretty good at. But I also think there are some very important aspects of life to live a happy, fulfilled life. You still have to learn, and what I've found is I've kind of had to, because I've had the same problem in the past to a way lesser extent, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
What I've done is kind of like take this approach to try to find something interesting in those things you generally dislike, to find like an angle in which it does stimulate you.
Mm.
Like try to play some mental gymnastics kind of to
Hmm.
find a way into liking something. Like with listening to people, I used to be very bad at it.
Mm.
I always thought I knew better,
Mm.
and through a lot of therapy mainly, and also I've tried to like just see it like kind of as an experiment to talk to people,
Mm.
to listen to people, and try to, yeah, it's kind of like it's like a craft.
Mm.
It's like techniques
Mm-hmm.
to use.
Yeah,
Have you found any success in some aspects?
but the thing is, like, I can, like, I've been told, like, I have one friend who, after her breakup, I like met up with her, and I went into it like, okay, I'm gonna like focus completely on her right now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like, she's going through something. I'm gonna be there for her. And if I have that really, really, really conscious intent of like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna listen to her, and I'm gonna, like, if I say something, it's for her, it's not for me. And so with a lot of really conscious intent, I can make good listen. And like afterwards, I heard from other people that she was telling people like, if you ever need someone to listen to, like, he's the guy. I was like, what? What the fuck are you telling people? I'm definitely not that guy. But
Uh-huh.
for some reason, in that moment, she felt like no one had listened to her like I had or something. And so, and this is, I think, part of that, like the the hyper focus. Like if I really have a really conscious goal and I focus on that goal and only that goal, I can do pretty much anything. But it does take a lot of
Conscious effort.
conscious effort and thus a lot of energy.
Uh-huh.
Whereas talking about myself, it's effortless.
It goes by itself.
Yeah.
Um, and do you feel like you go through this phase of like being extremely stimulated and then completely um, complete apathy?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
Because I've kind of had the same um, kind of phase in the past where I thought I had ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
My therapist also thought I had ADHD, but um, I never got tested, or I don't know if I have it. I've kind of just don't really care anymore whether I have it because I've kind of
Mm-hmm.
found a way of managing my brain
Mm-hmm.
into being productive. Well, relatively, but I don't
But
know where I'm
it's
going. But
like, yeah, because I think I see a parallel there also where like you're productive right now, right? Because you have job teaching and you have a job writing for like an online, what's it, an online magazine.
mm-hmm.
Um, but then there's like the stuff you want to do for yourself, right?
Yeah,
You want to create too. You want to create
yeah,
on YouTube, and I see you having success in the first two, the magazine and
yeah,
the teaching. Someone is expecting you to do these things,
yeah.
while the creating, only you are expecting you to do this.
That's true. I have like external pressure to
Mm-hmm.
meet these deadlines and
Mm-hmm.
to um, while the YouTube videos, that's only from myself. I want to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't done anything. Well, I've written some stuff, but like in the past 2 months, I believe I've written the least for myself than I have in the past 5 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's also, I think, understandable. I just started writing for the magazine, which required me to start as a freelancer, which is a lot of paperwork. Then I started teaching, which is a lot of paperwork, a lot of preparation. Then I moved places, so
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also kind of, yeah, understandable. And I have very much thought the same thing you're just now saying, but I kind of don't want to be too hard on myself and
Yeah, of
put too
course.
much pressure. But I've, yeah, I have this feeling like, fuck, I'm not getting closer at achieving what I really want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in another way, I am because I'm making money and I'm on the material side of things. I'm getting closer to what I need.
Yeah, you're
So
creating a life that's gonna allow you to keep doing
exactly,
what you want to do
exactly.
without having to worry financially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but that's fair. But yeah.
But I guess the real meaning is in writing and doing research and in the end sharing the ideas I'm trying to develop. But that's I've kind of also accepted that. Like 2 years ago, I was like, okay, I have this 1 year where I have a lot of less responsibilities on the school side of things, and I just can really this year I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna in 1 year I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna get this YouTube channel off the ground,
Mm.
and I'm gonna get recognized, and I'm gonna, which is totally crazy idea. I ended up doing nothing that year. Well, I did something, but and now I've kind of taken like the long approach. If I achieve this within 10 years, that's fast for me. Then I'm happy. I, yeah,
Mm.
just gonna take my time.
Yeah, I had this. I had exactly the same when I graduated. Like I was like, okay, in the next year I'm gonna build my YouTube channel and I'm gonna be famous. And
Uh-huh.
then when I do that, then I can safely quit the job that I don't really want to do,
Uh-huh.
and then I can. And now also, because like I was like, I'm not gonna go back to school, right? I'm not gonna spend another 3 4 years in film school to learn the things. No, I'm just gonna start doing things, and now after that year didn't work out, I was like, well, no, I gotta pursue something in the long run. I can't be that
Yeah, it's kind of
greedy.
arrogant on
Yeah.
a level. Because, yeah, I guess we both have some kind of like what the name for it is, but like we both feel like we're these prodigies and we're gonna achieve crazy things within a year. Yet we're sitting here on a bed with crazy bad lighting,
Yeah.
talking to a camera for a podcast nobody's gonna listen to. But I guess it's kind of a vibe, you know. It's a long shot, but like if one of us makes it, like it's gonna be very cool.
Yes, it's true.
So
But I'm really trying to focus a lot less on trying to make it, and focusing more on trying to make stuff.
yeah,
You know.
I think that's a good thing.
And actually, my last YouTube video,
Uh-huh.
I got so many, like not that many, but a few really amazing comments. Like
That's nice.
I feel like I finally made a video where I actually connected with people on some level.
That's awesome.
Like I got these amazing like long ass comments, and it was just this video. I didn't really say that much. I was just kind of crying, really. I was just kind of crying.
I must admit I haven't watched it yet.
That's
I
fine.
will, but
It's fine. It's kind of cringe, but it was also like it was also authentic, and I was just crying, and not really saying that much, and crying, and then it was just kind of like about I was lonely and I need some love or whatever. And I got these amazing comments like, "Oh, bro, I feel you, man. I've been where you were," and like, well, a lot of people were like, "Oh, don't worry about it. You'll find love," and like, okay, thank you for saying that. It's not really helpful, but
yeah, you can.
but a lot of they also gave some stuff that really made me feel better, especially because they said I was really good looking, and that I could be a model or an actor. You know, I really like those comments. But yeah, but it really feels like my new thing of just like being vulnerable, like allowing, like showing,
being sincere.
yeah, being
authentic.
sincere, being vulnerable, like not authentic. I don't like authentic really, because like I tried to be authentic before, but that just meant that I started believing in my own lies. And now I'm just like, I'm kind of just saying what comes up in me, and like just not kind of caring like what are people gonna think? Are people gonna think it's not authentic or not? Whatever, no. Or are people gonna think like maybe I'm oversharing, or I'm like,
yeah.
like, is anyone really gonna watch this? No, it doesn't matter. Like, if I feel something and if I can express that feeling, and there's maybe something in there, I can just share it and like just.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of beautiful to do so. A lot of people always say like these videos can be meaningless and there's no real connection. But if you do achieve connection through this medium, it's kind of a counterexample.
Yeah.
I guess there's some demand for that.
Yeah, and I think yeah.
Because you're not the only guy who's lonely. I mean, I've seen the statistics about how many guys, young guys, are single nowadays, and how much loneliness has increased the past few years. So I guess it's kind of beautiful to share those things, and to perhaps people will find comfort or some kind of connection, or yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you're a kind of
I want to break some stigmas, you know.
can become the king of the lonely people.
I can become the king of the incel community.
I mean, you're not an incel.
No, I used to be though.
Yeah.
Wow, that was we were very quick to agree with that. Wow, thanks, bruv.
Yeah, but like, me too, right? So,
Really?
I mean, depends. I had a phase where I was an incel. Just like, I had 2 years where I did very badly.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I can't complain.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's also not like I'm what's the name of the guy? I'm thinking of it. This is the guy you mentioned earlier. The Casanova.
Yeah, I think it's Casanova. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or was it
Merckt.
Don Juan? Wait.
Both are kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
But
It's
well, they're
one of
both
those.
different figures and they have like their own histories. But
It's one of those two.
yeah. Huh.
This also like this also leads me to believe that I have ADHD. Like this feeling that I get bored in relationships. Like
Perhaps you gotta find someone who's also got ADHD.
yeah, maybe.
I'm really attracted to girls with ADHD.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I am.
Yeah, I guess they
Very energetic.
energetic, unpredictable.
Yeah, chaos. I love chaos.
Yeah. For me, I guess it's like I've talked about it before, polyamory. I think this is like I wrote something yesterday. It was like about how being polyamorous or leading a polyamorous lifestyle, it will allow me to love someone without like having to worry that they're not enough or something. Like you always have multiple voices in your head, right?
Mm-hmm.
You always have this one voice that says like she's beautiful, she's wonderful, she's everything you ever wanted, she's amazing, she loves you, no one's ever loved you like her before. And then there's this other voice that says like, oh well, she's not hot enough, her like boobs are not big enough, butt's a little like, well, it's not that big, she's not that adventurous, she doesn't dress the way you want or whatever. And like you can choose to follow that one voice, the one that thinks she's beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
and you can really like believe that voice and take that to be true, but the other voice is still there and still constantly bothering you, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about monogamy is like that voice, like it's still there, but I think when you're polyamorous, you can be like, well, this is true. She is beautiful, and she is wonderful, and she's everything you ever wanted. And you can, but that other voice, you can still let it exist, and you can place it somewhere. Like, well, this all doesn't matter. That she's not hot enough. She doesn't have big enough boobs. She's not adventurous. She's not perfect. Like, it doesn't matter that she's not perfect or that she's not everything you want, because she's not the only one that you have to have. Like you can have multiple relationships. You can love multiple women.
And how do you see that on like the long term, such a relationship? Because I feel like it's quite an unstable situation when you're thinking about living together, about getting kids, yeah, like the financial side of things. When you start investing something together, it seems difficult to combine.
Well, I mean, I'm privileged. I don't really think about any of that stuff.
Okay. So, and like instinctively, I kind of want to challenge you on this belief. I think there's a reason why 99.9% of people are, well, relationships are monogamous. I think human species, the human experience, is a monogamous experience mostly. And in the cases wherein people live different forms of polyamorous lives, it's mostly with very strong hierarchical structures wherein different women have their own places, and it's more based on the power of the man than of
Disgusting.
on a level of loving many people. And I think there's this instinctive desire for sex with different women. It's an evolutionary desire. So to a certain extent, it seems kind of like a rationalization too, and in combination with other different thoughts and emotions. But I just fear that it's an unstable situation which will hurt different people, and you'll get yourself into trouble, basically.
Yeah,
Because
that's fair enough. Yeah.
but I guess we've got a podcast coming up eventually on the subject, about.
Yeah. But for me, like, yeah, I'm pretty scared of it. I'm not sure what's gonna happen because I fall in love like pretty intensely,
Yeah,
and I start focusing on one person.
it's also a sign of ADHD is to have like very intense emotional
Oh yeah, for sure.
experiences. So
Yeah,
perhaps you do have it, but like,
like
yeah.
I was interested in this girl,
Mm-hmm.
and like I didn't see her for 3 weeks, but I kept like getting more and more attached, even though I hadn't seen her in 3 weeks. And then I just like like all my emotions came spilling out, and I like told her like I have a lot of feelings for you, and
And how
but it
did
was
she
too much.
react?
Why it was too much for her. She was
Overwhelming.
like, yeah, overwhelmed, of course, yeah. Um,
Was this going on for a long time or?
couple like a month and a half, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, what was I getting at? That the thing about like I tend to really focus on one person, and in that period where I was really interested in her, like I didn't really feel like pursuing other girls.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
Yeah, I guess that was also something I was thinking about. If you're really in love, you know she's not perfect rationally, but like you
mhm,
feel she's perfect. It's like this emotion, and
mhm.
you
Well, not perfect, but beautiful.
yeah.
I like the term think of in terms of beauty. Like everyone, well, not everyone, but like in at least for the girls, all the girls I've been interested in, I could see some kind of beauty in them,
Yeah.
and also a lot of imperfections, but they don't matter because I look at the beauty. But then
Yeah.
at some point, invariably, at least with the girls that I've had something longer term with, at some point, like you still see the beauty, but you also see the imperfections, and and then you start seeing the beauty in other girls as well, and like why should I like I want to experience different kinds of beauty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I also don't think that's
Mm.
unnatural. Quite the opposite. Um, and it's a very difficult decision to. And I'm not saying you have to make this. You're not legally bound to making this decision, but like a lot of people choose on a certain level, and that's what marriage is about: is to promise, to give a promise. And I'm not saying you cannot break this promise, but to promise something, someone to spend your whole life together.
Mm.
And if you're gonna make such a decision, it you should have considered many options than just the first person you fall in love with.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I also think promising. I mean, I think it's beautiful if you can promise to someone that you're gonna decide to keep loving them your whole life. But that's also not how evolutionarily we've been programmed. Well, because monogamy is definitely like part of our programming, but it's more like serial monogamy. It's like you have a relationship, you raise kids with them, and then at some point when the kids are grown up, you start a new relationship with a different person, and this is more accurately how evolutionarily
I
we've been
don't think
programmed.
people have had time for that. Um, well,
At least men, because men, like as a man, like I think I read an article on this yesterday. Like around the like you have a relationship with someone, you make kids with them, and then at some point around the year, like when your kid is like 7 or 8 years old, at that point apparently it's like safe, and like your offspring is kind of like safe, and then the man leaves and goes and fucks another woman.
I'm quite skeptical of that. Um, you know the ACE test?
No.
It's the Adverse Childhood Experiences test. So it's basically an index on which you can score from 0 to 12, and how many points you have correlates highly with the chance of you developing any kind of psychiatric disorder. And one of the 12 questions is, before your 18th birthday, I believe, did your parents get divorced, or did one of your parents leave? And that is a question which, well, brings about 1 out of 12 points on your ACE test, which has a very high impact on not only the chance of you developing psychiatric disorders, as I just said, but also your prestations in school, your success in love life, your financial success. This data is quite clear that kids from divorced parents, and I'm not saying you cannot get divorced, but the data is quite clear that it's the kids whose parents stay together perform in a lot of aspects a lot better than those from the divorced parents. And
Yeah, but I guess you have to look at it not from like I'm looking at this from an evolutionary lens, right? And evolutionarily, the goal is not to create the most fulfilled or most uh, rounded children. The aim is to maximize gene transmission, right? So in that sense, you have to balance like, okay, am I gonna create one kid that has like maximum rounded and is thus maximally inclined to transmit the genes again, or am I gonna spread the risk and have a bunch of different kids with a bunch of different women?
well, it's not only gene the spread of your genes, but also once those genes are spread, they have to live about to spread the genes to a next generation.
Well, yeah, so it's like a risk. It's like a balance thing, right? You want to
Yeah.
raise your kid upon like.
Well, I'm not saying there hasn't been any monogamy in any societies, but well, for a big part of our past, we lived in these groups of people from, well, 100 people maximum to like 150. I don't know what the number is again of the maximum amount of people you can have a close relationship in.
150, yeah.
150 it was, yeah. So I do think there's some flexibility in how these societies were kind of structured, but it just feels like there's a lot more factors playing in such a. It's also not fully. I think the most intense part where this evolutionary factor is coming into play is there's a desire for a lot of sexual variety in men, especially. And this desire for power and desire for, because the power then translates into different options, but also then you have the conscious part of sexually selecting a partner which emotionally triggers you, and those triggers are again then evolutionarily developed to make you pick the partner which is most interesting for the successful transmission of your genes. And then again, there are social factors which kind of structure and moderate this whole evolutionary um, picture we're talking about, but yeah, um, I think it's no coincidence that, well, whatever you say about Christianity, and I would not consider myself a Christian, but it is one of the most long-standing religions, and I don't think it's a coincidence that monogamy has played such a big part of in it. Um, I think it has greatly stabilized societies over the past 2000 years. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, from like an economic perspective, monogamy is the way to go for sure.
yeah, and
But
also social and um,
for me, but yeah, I don't know. For me, it's an experiment, you know.
uh-huh. Well, it's an interesting experiment, and it's something which is developing, which is if you would just if we would be seeing this kind of behavior in any species of animals, we would be going like, what the fuck is happening here? This kind of animal is usually monogamous, and suddenly they're changing their sexual system, which is like a very deep part of how a species functions. And I guess humans have the freedom to change these things, but it's very deep and very.
I mean, I don't think you can define the human species as an inherently monogamous species. Because we have
I would.
like there's been promiscuous people throughout history.
Yeah, but promiscuousness is not something totally different from monogamy, right?
No, I'd say promiscuity is definitely like in opposition to monogamy. Promiscuity is about sleeping with multiple people.
Yeah, but I think the kind of judgment and the the cross-cultural emphasis on trust and on the sacredship of bonds between people, and it correlates with the whole idea we have from loyalty and the good versus the evil, and we as a group present the strength from groups, and the I think that all kind of speaks to, and mostly then the emphasis we put on trust and loyalty speaks to the judgment of promiscuity that it has.
I think there's just like a fundamental misalignment here that monogamy is definitely like the way to go if financially and if you want to have kids. Um, then it's like it's necessary to create some to have some kind of stability and to maximize the chances of the child um, growing up well is to have two parents because it creates more stability, creates more certainty. In my case, I don't want to get kids, and if I do want to have kids someday, I think um, I think we've evolved to some kind of point where established biological and social structures um, limit us in some way because they are useful in some way, but we have the ability to kind of transcend these limitations by behaving in a conscious way about them, and this is why like I think polyamory can really work because you can transcend like you can transcend guilt and jealousy, for example. Like you can manage these emotions consciously, you can manage all your emotions consciously, and if you do want to have kids, you can consciously decide to create a relationship with that partner where the stability of like your relationship and your future is kind of guaranteed as much as with a monogamous relationship, um, but where you still decide to be polyamorous. And it's for sure a lot more difficult, but
Yeah.
we have the, like, we're human, we can be conscious about all these difficulties and find ways to, to take on that challenge, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think there has definitely been successful instances of it. Most famously, Carl Jung himself, um,
Yeah.
the psychologist. He had a wife, but he also had a mistress. And at one point, his wife learned about this and initially was very upset, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And then the genius Carl Jung um, proposed, why shouldn't you two meet each other?
Mm-hmm.
So his wife and his mistress met each other,
Mm-hmm.
and they came along greatly. They liked each other, and they both accepted their place, to say it quite,
Mm.
perhaps not as elegantly, but
Yeah.
they
Did the wife also take him like a lover at some point?
I'm not sure about that. I don't believe so. But yeah, it was a successful instance, but well, not everybody is Carl Gustav fucking Jung.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about that. Like, this is like, you have like, first of all, it comes from a like place of like non-ethical. It comes from cheating, which is never good. It comes from, like, you have an explicit agreement with someone that you're monogamous, and then you bring someone else into this, and the other person has to kind of deal with it, has to accept it. Of course, this is all like really ethically bad stuff. Like, it's not the best breeding ground for a healthy non-monogamous relationship. But and I would definitely like you should never have a one-sided non-monogamous relationship. Like, if the wife chooses not to take on another lover, that's fine. If she's happy being satisfied by her husband, and if she's okay with the husband having his other needs satisfied by someone else, but it should be like a choice. Like, she should always have the option
Mm-hmm.
to like there it should be a mirror, right? Whatever one person can do, the other person should also be able to do.
Yeah, but it's so complicated because it's very difficult to compare these things, because sexual, well, promiscuity as a man is something completely different as promiscuity as a woman. Yeah, I think it's very, very complicated, and well, the data is quite clear that in a lot of instances this doesn't really end up well. It sometimes goes fine, but
Well,
I think
yeah.
a relationship as this is so difficult, and you're making it just like infinitely more difficult.
Well, I like a challenge. No, but for me, it's also like, if I like, I'm not even saying that I never want to be in a monogamous relationship, but it's the idea that, like, I'm not gonna go into a monogamous relationship with someone if I'm not already sure that I want to be in a monogamous relationship with them in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
And you can never know, because, like, biologically we're programmed to, like, fucking fall head over heels in love with someone,
Yeah.
and then 3 or 6 months later we realize, like, oh, maybe this is not it. And like most people like 50% of marriages end in divorce. So this is like telling like at some point you realize that some things cannot work. So I would rather have a non-monogamous relationship evolve into a monogamous one in the long term than the other way around.
Yeah.
I think this is always more ethical, and it also, I think it increases your chances of meeting someone that you can have a long-term monogamous relationship with, because you're not turning down people just because you're already in a relationship. Like you could be in a relationship with someone that's like, oh yeah, I love her and I see the beauty in her. She's not everything I want, and then you can come across someone that's potentially gonna blow your fucking mind and keep doing it for like 10 or 20 years. But you have to turn them down because you're already in a monogamous relationship. You can never explore anything with that person.
Yeah, it's a shame.
So I would rather do it in that direction. I would rather start from having that freedom to choose to be with the people you find interesting, the people that you find beautiful, and to be more careful about really, really committing to them, to be a lot more careful about it than how it is now, because like we like it feels really weird to me to commit to someone before you know them and before you realize who they are, and like
Yeah, I understand definitely where you're coming from, because I mean, you make a fundamental point, is that 50% of marriages end up in divorce, which indeed is a strong sign that there's something happening which is not functioning like optimally on whatever level that may be. But I would just personally, and this is like speaking like quite practically and personal, I would just be kind of insulted to be with someone and having some kind of relationship with them, but then if they wouldn't be fulfilled, I would feel pain because of that. I believe if they wanted to explore their other options, I would feel like I'm not considered enough, which for me would be an essential part of being in a relationship, is to feel like you truly mean someone for a person more than enough so they would want to give up certain freedoms to be with me. I think that would make me feel very loved. So personally, I would never do it as well. If you listen to me argue the past 30 minutes, you probably would have expected this.
Yeah, it's just like from my experience, I have made that thing where I sacrifice things for someone, where I sacrificed some really big things, where I really committed to someone, and where I also really believed that they could give me everything I needed. And then to find out slowly and very painfully that this is all actually not true.
But do you feel like this was inevitable to end up that way, or is there some kind of
I don't know. I mean, there's definitely things
contingency?
I think there's definitely things I could have done differently, that we both could have done differently, that maybe we'd still be together and we'd still be loving each other. But you know, it didn't. So like I'm not saying like if I would if I could go back in time, I would fucking be with her again for sure, and I would like I would try to do it differently, and I would see how it turned out, but it it didn't. So
Uh, yeah. I'm kind of starting to see how you've come to the conclusion of why you're so, I guess, interested in this concept because, well, I saw the whole relationship basically develop and how you were so madly in love and then so madly hurt afterwards. So I guess it only just clicked now
yeah,
to me.
and I'm still in love with her,
Yeah.
really, but I just like yeah, it feels really weird, but I don't know how else to express it. She's just like she's beautiful, but she's not enough. I want to be with her, but I know I can never be completely satisfied. I'm always gonna have that voice in the back of my head telling me like this or that or this or that. And sure, like any priest would tell you like, oh, you have to resist temptation and you have to be happy with what you have and you have to choose to love your partner every day, but like I I don't know, I don't think I could live that way, the constant doubt, the constant uncertainty. And okay, that doubt and uncertainty is also gonna be there if you are in a polyamorous relationship. There's always gonna be doubt and uncertainty, but just something like I don't see monogamy or polyamory. I don't see either as the right thing. Both have a lot of uncertainty and a lot of complexity. I would say maybe even equal amounts. At least for me right now, maybe in a couple, like maybe in 10 or 15 years, I'll look back and I'll have a clear opinion about which is the better lifestyle for me. But right now I have to choose to take on this experiment. Yeah.
Well, I'm very curious to see how it turns out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's very interesting, of course. It's a wild experiment.
I don't think it's that wild.
Well, no, it really isn't because at a certain level, you're just being a young guy doing young guys things, just thinking very deeply about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, I've done friends with benefits in the past, and that's like such a standard thing nowadays.
Yeah.
But I think it's like there's something inherently wrong with friends with benefits in that you have to repress all of your emotions to be able to do it. Because the idea of friends with benefits is you're friends, you have sex, and you don't fall in love. But
Yeah.
without any exception, any person I've had sex with than more than 2 times, I've fallen in love with. Even when it started from we're friends, we're fuck buddies, no feelings attached, no strings attached. Consistently, in the end, I fall in love.
Yeah.
And I would much rather allow myself to feel everything and to express everything and to be honest than to have to lie to myself and to my partners about all of this.
Yeah. I guess.
And I think that's the easiest way to explain it to anyone. I'm not honestly, I don't really care. Like if people want to be monogamous, go for it. But if you don't want to be monogamous, then you have to be really conscious about it. You have to think about like what is it gonna do to you, what is it gonna do to your partners, and how can you do it in a healthy way without repressing your emotions. Because like any kind of non-monogamous relationship is gonna come with jealousy and guilt and a lot of other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I've felt incredibly guilty when I was doing friends with benefits, and then I would sleep with another girl or I would do this or that. I would feel guilty there's no reason to, because you're like you have an agreement, like you can fuck other people, whatever, you know. But I still felt guilty,
Mm-hmm.
and I know she still felt jealous, you know.
And was it worth it?
For sure, yeah.
The experience was worth the guilt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not one of them, not so much. One of them was pretty disgusting, but um,
I think I know what you're talking about.
yeah. But it's worth it. It's definitely worth it to experience all of this, because then you realize like what you need to do differently, like how you need to communicate about it differently,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and like like people always say communication is key in relationships, and this is true for monogamy, but this is exponentially more true about non-monogamous relationships. And the idea that friends with benefits, like you don't tell each other about who you fuck. I couldn't disagree more, really. Like I think it's difficult. Like it's difficult. I disagree with it, like not telling each other. I also agree with it, not telling each other. But like, because there has to be like in any kind of loving relationship, there has to be some kind of honesty and transparency. Transparency. You have to be able to get things off your chest. You have
Yeah.
to be able to admit to your partner, like, I love this about you, but this other person, I love this about them.
Uh-huh.
And it's always gonna create oof.
It's also just like an ethic among your friends, you know. And as fuck buddies, you're still buddies, you know.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyone I would recommend to anyone who's like non-monogamous to think about everything on a more conscious level, to try to do it ethically and to try to do it consciously and to try to be in touch with all of your emotions and to allow yourself and your partner to feel everything and to talk about it openly without yeah.
I guess you're really living life to the fullest if you're doing so.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to maximize the human experience.
Perhaps I'm trying to minimize the human pain.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah. I'm gonna feel a lot of pain when
Yeah, you're gonna embrace the pain but also take the good parts.
yeah, I'm gonna feel a lot of pain because I'm gonna experience girls who don't find me enough and who after a while meet someone new and then they're like, what do I need you for?
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna feel this too. But I'm ready for it. I wouldn't have it any other way. It would be so fucking disgusting if I didn't expect girls to do the same to me that I'm gonna do to them,
Yeah. Well, I guess it's quite a fundamental difference between the two of us. I think I perhaps more so desire the stability and perhaps more inclined to make compromises to I can't find the English word, but to make sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps I shouldn't, I've
Well, you'll see, but you've never like
I've never had a long-term relationship.
yeah, so you haven't gone through the experiences that I've gone through. You haven't like I think the first experience, the first experiment is, can I be happy in a monogamous relationship? And you don't even know the answer to that yet.
I think what will happen is because I'm very, very, very cautious of connecting to someone on a romantic level. Extremely cautious, perhaps, well, no, not perhaps, certainly too cautious for my own good, but I think what will happen is once I find the courage, and if this coincides with finding the person with whom I'm compatible with, I think there's a reasonable chance that the first person I end up in a serious relationship with will be the partner for the rest of my life. And perhaps that's naive, but I do see that happening. I kind of expect that. So I've tried to make kind of a conscious effort to, well, how do I say this politely? To have enough different and adventurous experiences, so I won't feel like I missed out when I'm in my 50s, you know.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good too.
Yeah.
But so yeah, but I would like. I would recommend you to like embrace the non-monogamous philosophy until you found that person.
Yeah, that's also what I'm planning to do. I think on a certain level we're also discussing there's kind of like a disagreement between us, but it may also just be on a semantic level, because I would never consider myself a non-monogamous or polyamorous, but if you look concretely at what I'm planning to do, it's, in your words, perhaps you would describe it as such. I think for me, just the definition of a relationship is the mutual agreement to be friends and simultaneously only have sex with each other. That's kind of the definition of a relationship for me. A romantic relationship, obviously, but I guess on a more open interpretation of relationships, friendships are also relationships. So I guess if you just like label your main relationship, or like, well, I guess, would there be like a main relationship in your idea of this, or is there like
there could
no,
be. There
could
doesn't
be.
have to be. There could be.
Okay.
Depends. Like I think there's always like there's because labeling something as a main relationship is also kind of like a commitment, you know? I think it, for sure, if you end up having kids with someone,
Yeah.
you have to label it like this is like a long-term relationship. But like there's no being polyamorous, having multiple relationships is compatible with having long-term relationships. They're just not exclusive.
Theoretically.
What do you mean theoretically?
I think on a practical level it's very difficult to do so, and statistically it will likely not happen. And
I'm not sure.
not necessarily, but like,
well, I think like if you're gonna have kids with someone, you have to have a proper agreement with them, and you have to decide like we're gonna stay together in some capacity.
I agree on that. I think I was kind of zoned out, so I think I misinterpreted something you said.
But it doesn't mean you can't like also love other people outside of that relationship, even when you have kids.
I meant to have sexual relationships outside of your main relationship, if that's compatible with having kids.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, people like happens all the time, even in monogamous relationships. Like, right, people cheat on their spouses, and they either hide it or it comes out, and they decide to live with it, to keep living with it. It happens. Wouldn't it be nice if like wouldn't it be like better if you could just like agree to what is okay and what is not okay beforehand, and then stick to that and manage it on a conscious level?
You don't decide how you feel. Your emotions just, well, I think on an emotional level, your reaction is very human to be extremely upset and feel
Mhm.
grief and pain and jealousy and anger,
Mhm.
which I think to such a degree that it really, really, really risks the longevity the relationship with whom you have with within you have children. So I think it's just very, very risky. And well, well, not statistically. I'm just my feeling is that when a partner cheats, that's and when it comes out, it turns out into a great, great crisis. And it's not just because two people decided or have this idea that it's not okay. It's also it's like a feeling at by. It's not because you tell each other, okay, we're non-monogamous, that therefore you won't have those feelings. I think. Well,
I'm not sure I understand.
it's not because you tell each other, okay, so we have kids, but we're non-monogamous, so yeah, sure, go have sex with someone else. And once that happens, it's not because you agree to that the emotions will not greatly endanger the relationship.
Mhm. Yeah, but I think non-monogamy is more like, at least ethical non-monogamy. It's less about, the most important part of that is consciously managing your emotions and your agreements. So it's the idea that, like, at some point you have kids, you're non-monogamous, you have sex with someone else, the other partner like feels jealous,
Mm-hmm.
feels some kind of overwhelming emotion. The idea is that you've already equipped yourself with the tools to manage those emotions consciously, and that you can say, like, well, we have this agreement, and now I feel this certain way, I allow myself to feel this way, but I'm not going to let it ruin this relationship, and I'm not going to let it ruin these kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to think about how can I reframe this? How can I not not ignore these emotions, but how can I manage them? How can I interpret them? How can I channel them in the way that's best for me, for my partner, and for my kids? And I think my parents are a great example of, like, two people who have managed to communicate and to raise children together, even though they separated when I was 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've seen so many other divorces where the parents just completely screw each other, not physically, but like
Mm-hmm.
they just screw each other over completely.
Yeah, my parents.
Uh, if you say so, yeah, maybe that's a good example. That's not what I was going for, but
No,
yeah,
no, no.
no, but it's okay. Yeah, I see. Um, because they let their emotions get the better of them, and they didn't consciously decide to put their children and the stability of their lives first.
Mm-hmm.
They let their emotions get the better of them, and it's important to have these emotions, but it's important to manage them consciously. Like, you have to really feel your emotions, but you also have to be able to put them in a place that makes them functional in some way,
Yeah, you
and not
cannot like
dysfunctional.
let them change your behavior
Mm-hmm.
to the worse.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, I don't want to go into your parents' story that much because I don't know how much you want to share about it.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a really difficult situation. It was also, I guess, quite unexpected,
Yeah.
which made it
On some
all
level
the
and on
more.
some level not.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've kind of decided to a certain extent, and I will not over exaggerate here, but like to be a bit more open than I have been in the past about these kind of things, because well, it's my parents, and I don't want to compromise my relationship with them, but I also don't want to have a relationship where I have to be silent and
Mm.
can be censored to some extent.
Mhm.
So, well, I guess yeah.
That's a big topic, no?
I think that's a topic for another podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Because I also think I'm running out of time here. I'm
Yeah.
not sure how long we've been talking, but yeah, I should probably leave.
Okay.
I'm your background.
Well, you're one of my backgrounds, but you're
Okay.
actually on multiple of my backgrounds, I think. Let me see. Okay, yeah. Here's another one.
That's cute.
Yeah, there's probably one. I don't know. But yeah,
Well-
you're on my background.
Okay, that's cool.
But yeah, for sure, like, there's a lot of stuff to dig into there that I think we can connect to a lot of stuff that we talked about today.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing to take the time for it.
Yeah. I think that's a good point.
Mhm.
I really wonder whether anybody is listening at this point. So if there's anybody listening at this point, please comment below. I would be really surprised to see any comments,
Yeah.
but I would love to know if you're willing to do that.
I mean, we didn't even get any comments on any of the other
No?
podcasts. I don't think so.
Not any?
So
How many views did we get? Like 30?
I'm not sure. I don't look at views. I disable, like, I have an extension for Chrome that
Really?
allows me to disable the view counts because I know if I would see them, I would like be like, why am I even doing this?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. That's exactly why I have this extension, is because I'm not doing it for the views.
Uh-huh. Okay. No, I
So-
think I enjoyed today's
But I
talk.
think doing it for the comments is better.
That's true. That's true. So, if by any chance someone is listening, please do comment.
Yes. Please leave a comment. Tell us something that you can connect to what we talked about, and maybe we can connect even more to it in the comments somehow. Maybe we can talk about it next time. Maybe
Yeah, if you have any subjects,
also tweet me at Liam Vereecken.
it's X now.
No, it's still Twitter.
Okay. But that's enough for today.
All right.
Thank you for listening, if anybody's listening. Otherwise, I'm talking into the void, which is also something
That's fun.
that's fun, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
thank you for listening to The Human Experience, episode 3. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Oh, look, let's spoon.
No, thank you. I'm sorry. I will not consent to that.
I'm so lonely.
I don't feel comfortable doing